The Cleveland Browns, 10-4, and on the cusp of a playoff berth. Why? On the other side. Cole Sports presents on the Daily. Well, welcome back, VIP. Cole Johnson's live and in living color on the Daily is on tap, presented by Cole Sports. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to this wonderful channel and get all the news in the sports world and be the brightest and the best in terms of being in the know in your house, your church, your workplace, or wherever you congregate with other people. Now, you already know how we get down on Mondays, and we're not going to disappoint and deviate from that. We're going to do the same thing. You already heard what I'm going to talk about. So yes, here comes the list. I was having a conversation with a VIP away from the camera and away from the mic. And during it, I was, just talking about the prominence of the Cleveland Browns. And this VIP happens to be a huge fan of Baker Mayfield. I'm not as big of a fan of his, but I'm not a detractor of him either. But in talking with them, I said, I think this is a good video to do. So here are the five reasons as to why the Cleveland Browns, and they have returned to playoff prominence. Yes, I know as of this recording, the Browns have not officially qualified for the playoffs. I know they need to win against the Jets, and they need to have different things happen, like they need the Colts to lose to the Steelers or the Dolphins to lose to the Raiders. And there's another scenario that I can't think off the top of my head. Oh, I think they need the Ravens to lose. One of those three scenarios, and the Browns are in the playoffs, along with the win, of course, in the Meadowlands against the Jets. Now, I would say that would happen, but we've seen yesterday how you can't take anything for granted in the NFL because the Rams blew a home game against the previously winless Jets. So here are the 5 reasons as to why I really do believe the Cleveland Browns have returned to playoff prominence, because I'm going to forecast and say that they basically are in the playoffs. Number 1, Myles Garrett. Now, I know you're probably saying, wait a minute, Cole, wasn't he the same guy that held a helmet and swung it at a helmet-less Mason Rudolph of the Steelers last year? Yes, one in the same. But the reason why I put him on this list is he is proof of the team's maturity, because the team went through an immature process along the way, and it's understandable because they were young and they were a rudderless ship, especially under Freddie Kitchens, the former head coach there. They were a rudderless ship, and now, and I'll talk about the new leadership later on in this video. With that new leadership, it has come to, I guess, our attention that the maturity has taken shape quickly. And you have Garrett, who, I mean, on the field, he's a beast. I mean, the dude is a defensive end par excellence, 12 sacks. He's a defensive player of the year candidate. I don't think he's going to win it, but he's a candidate for the award. And he also, considering that he was considering that he was receiving ban him, he sucks, he's a horrible human being type of comments from NFL fan last year at this time. Now he is one of the 32 candidates for NFL's Man of the Year. And for those who don't know what Man of the Year is, the team votes on a player who is considered not just as good on the field, but they consider him being just as good off the field too. So they combine those two elements and they say, yeah, he's the best of us in this locker room. He's the best of us as the players. He's the best of us as the coaches. He's the best of us as the executive. And he is the representative of our players in terms of what we think of as a player who's a great man off the field. To have a guy who was considered public enemy number one and a villainous character only 13 months prior to get the Man of the Year nominee for the Browns, that's what you call maturation done right. And I am happy for the young man. So number one, Myles Garrett. Now, if the defense can actually take after his lead, I think the Browns would be even better than they are at this current moment. The second reason as to why the Browns have returned to playoff prominence, the wide receiving core, easy for me to say, they're maturing right before our eyes. Now, you're probably saying, well, wait a minute. Didn't 2 months ago Odell Beckham Jr. have an injury in Cincinnati? Yes, he did. And then why would you say that the wide receiving core is going under the maturation process? Well, I mean, you're looking at them. And I'll even add the tight ends too. I mean, just look at the weapons. You have Rashard Higgins and David Njoku for the tight end of things for the Browns. And you have Donovan Peoples-Jones, who's becoming a wonderful number two option in wide receiver for the quarterback of the Browns. And I will talk about him later. And the number one receiver in Jarvis Landry. And not only is he the number one wide receiver, but it is quite apparent he is the leader of the team. And I mean the leader of the whole team, offense, defense, special teams. Everybody takes their cue after number 80 of the Browns. And he just has the passion, burning desire and passion to win. And he will do everything possible. And I really do mean that in order for the team to succeed. I mean, this dude will take off handoffs in the backfield. This dude will run routes. This dude will even throw passes, and he's done all that this year. When you have a guy and a leader as Landry who will say, look, I will do whatever it takes to make sure we are on top and we get a W, then you know you're in really good hands. So that's the number two reason why they are playoff bound. The number three reason why the Browns have returned to playoff prominence, the number three reason, the head coach, Kevin Stefanski. He has done wonders for the whole team, but he's definitely done wonders for the next reason. And I'll go a little bit more in depth about that when I get to him. But he was the previous offensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings. They had a rut earlier that year, but then they discovered, oh, wow, we have a running game. We have Dalvin Cook. Oh, we need to utilize him. And he utilized them well. And the Vikings were primed in position. They got into playoffs and won a playoff game, went to New Orleans and beat the Saints before getting stomped out by the eventual NFC champs, the San Francisco 49ers in Santa Clara. But Stefanski took the same type of balanced offensive attack, and he went to Cleveland to be the head coach of the Browns. And along with a balanced attack, he also has decided to throw a little bit of a wrinkle here and there every now and then. You know, halfback options, wide receiver options, backwards passes to throw downfield. I mean, I think I've seen Jarvis Landry throw as many passes as the quarterback of the team. I mean, they've done double reverses. They've done naked bootlegs. I mean, just different things to just throw a defense off. And it is a credit to this guy. And he is getting more and more consideration for coach of the year in the NFL. I personally think that it's going to go to somebody else, but Stefanski should get consideration because he has taken a team that really was going nowhere. And I'm not just talking about in the record. I'm talking about in terms of headspace. He took an immature team and he's made them extremely mature and accountable for one another almost overnight. And he is one of the biggest reasons why this team has returned back to prominence. The number 4 reason as to why the Cleveland Browns have returned to playoff prominence: Baker Mayfield playing within himself. What do I mean? I mean that Mayfield isn't throwing the ball 40, 45 times a game. And if he were to throw it that many times, normally that would result in an L. And it should result in a loss because you don't want any quarterback to throw that often or that amount of times. You want to have a balanced attack. And if you have a balanced attack, why waste your quarterback throwing so much? And it's not an indictment against Mayfield. He's a good quarterback if the system is correct in having him execute the way he should. And the way Mayfield should execute is a lot of play action, a lot of bootleg, and a lot of, I won't say simple reads, but a lot of easy reads to get him confidence early in the game. Like a screen pass that goes 10 yards, like a curl route that takes a turn and instead of it being like a 7-yard gain, it's more like a 15-yard gain. Mayfield needs those types of things to happen. And you can only do that if the flow of the offense is smooth. If it's frantic and frenetic, then any quarterback will be thrown off his game. And many times we saw Mayfield frenetic. We saw him, I won't say panic in the pocket, but we saw him make horrible decisions in the pocket, all because of pressure. And it's amazing what pressure can do. And I will add, along with Mayfield playing within himself, the Cleveland Browns offensive line actually being committed to blocking for Mayfield. I played on the offensive line. I can tell you, if you're not committed to protecting your quarterback, bad things can happen to him. But if you are committed to making that jersey stay clean or as clean at the end of the game as it was before you took the field, then that means that you're committed to making sure that your team succeeds, and you know it starts with your signal caller. So because of that, the last few games, I think the last 5 games, he's only thrown for 1 interception. And he's actually thrown for back-to-back 300-yard games. And it was necessary because both teams, the Ravens and the Giants, called for him to beat them. And if it wasn't for the defense not coming up to par for the Ravens, against the Ravens, the Browns would have won that game too. But in their first primetime affair, and God knows how long, against the Giants past Sunday night, Mayfield was dared to beat the Giants, and he was up to the task. 27-32 over 300 yards, a couple touchdowns, and did not make much of a mistake. He played within himself, and he played beautifully, and he was in charge of a balanced offensive attack. Number 4 reason, Baker Mayfield playing within himself. The number 5 reason, and to me, the biggest reason as to why this team is successful and they're returning back to playoff prominence. 2 people, Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. Now, Kareem Hunt is playing like a man dedicated to rebounding, because you got to understand, he was a Chief and he was doing monster numbers there. He was a beast for the Chiefs. But an incident in Cleveland, in a Cleveland hotel, where he was shown kicking a woman, basically ended his tenure with the Chiefs. And it was assumed that his career to NFL was over because of that. But he has rebounded from that incident, got picked up by the Browns, and he has been a wonderful addition to the team, being a good option in the flat, just in case if things break down or things get in trouble for Mayfield. He could dump it out to Hunt, because Hunt has a really good pair of hands, and he's elusive and he's quick, and he runs between the tackles very well. The same can be said for Nick Chubb. In fact, even more so for him. This guy rushed over 1,000 yards. He If he didn't get injured for a few games, he probably would be right there along with Dalvin Cook and Derrick Henry as to getting the NFL rushing lead. It is imperative and important for Chubb to get the rock. Even if he does not gain 100 yards in the game, to me, it is important that he gets it at least 20 times a game, because the success of that team depends on his steadying the whole Browns organization. He is the main reason, to me, the main cog as to the success or failure rate of the Browns. If he can be steadied, and if he can give you that production, and if he can give you those yards on the ground between the tackles, then the chances for the Browns to succeed improve dramatically. And he has great skills. He has good hands too, out the backfield. But his skill, he runs between the tackles. He gets the hard yards. He is as elusive as he is powerful, and he is steady. He has been one of the biggest reasons as to why we have seen a renaissance in the return of the number one back in the NFL, because that was starting to fade off. But now, because of him, Cook and Henry, we're starting to see a return of the big 3-down back in Chubb. So just to recap the reasons as to why, the 5 of them, as to why I consider the Browns that they have returned to prominence in the playoffs or toward the playoffs: Myles Garrett, the 2020 Cleveland Browns Man of the Year candidate; the wide receiving core growing up in front of our eyes, and along with the tight end core too; the head coach Kevin Stefanski; Baker Mayfield; and the two-headed monster Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. If the Browns continue to go on this rampage, they can go far. And if all 5 of those ingredients are in place, the NFL better watch out, because a dark horse may result in the AFC playoffs, and they're clad in the orange and brown. Now, if you want this wonderful shirt that I am styling right now, the description box below has all the details, and you can get it in many different styles and many different ways. And if you think that there's another reason that I haven't listed as to why the Browns have returned to playoff prominence, or you agree with me all the same, in either case, like this video and share it throughout all your social media. Comment below, because I love what you have to say, VIP. Your comments are absolute gold. Don't forget, hit that notification bell and subscribe to this channel for any and all content that emanates from it. Well, thank you so much for your time, VIP. I love you. And for all of us here at Cole Sports, I'm Cole Johnson, and this has been yet another installment of Cole Sports, an official land.